Hey guys, this is Those Guys with your host Matt Marrero along with the other host.
Tristan Walter.
And today, or technically tonight when this is being released, we are starting our 12 Nights of Shyamalan event. That's right, 12 Nights of Shyamalan. This is a Halloween in July event. Remember that, Tristan, as we're recording this way in advance. This is a Halloween in July event. The audio is going to sound a little bit different than some of our other podcasts that are coming out. We have Blog Talk Radio slight issue. It's not on Blog Talk Radio's end. It's on my end. So the other podcast should sound like some of our normal ones, but this one's going to be a little bit different. We're recording it a little bit differently. Kind of like how we record our Keikaku Corner podcasts, but not on my end. Actually, no. Exactly like we're recording them. They're just audio exclusive, though, still. Anyway, so 12 Nights of Shyamalan event. We're looking at 10 movies from the looks of it. I'm pretty sure it's going to be 10 movies and 2 seasons of a TV show. A good TV show, by the way. And it's short. Super short, so don't worry, Tristan. I can hear him like, oh, no. I forgot about the TV show. Anyway, so we're starting from his earliest horror work, or thriller work, really, because I wouldn't consider this a horror movie necessarily.
I'd go with like psychological thriller.
Exactly. And so what we're talking about today, guys, is The Sixth Sense. That's what we're reviewing today for this for the first night of the 12 Nights of Shyamalan. I feel like we should get the same graphic designer who designed the 12 Nights of Halloween, the 13 Nights of Halloween for ABC Family. We should just hire that person to just do all of our graphics for these 12 nights. So this is something very ambitious. Hopefully this works out. Hopefully there are 12 nights. There might actually not be. Things happen, guys. But anyway, this is a movie. The reason why I want to talk about this, not just because of our 12 nights and everything like that, but I wanted to get Tristan's take on it because I know that you're not that big into movies like this. Again, not necessarily a horror movie, but you're more so into the fantastical, like things outside of our realm, out of our galaxy, different universes, things like that. Also a lot of animated stuff as well, especially from Japan.
Like fantasy and adventure.
Yeah, and sci-fi as well.
Yeah, sci-fi as well, yeah.
Yeah. So because you usually go to those wells, I thought I would take you to this one, and by the way, the well joke will be our first Ring reference and joke of the night, because when you break this movie down in some ways, I would imagine that this would have been some kind of recreation without, like a hush-hush recreation of the Ring, and yet, funny story, this came out the same year that the Ring did. In Japan. So this is not in any way a fun little, silly reference to the Ring. It just isn't. There's no way to call it that, because I'm going to check right now as we're talking about The Sixth Sense. And the reason why, by the way, some people might be like, why are you accusing M. Night Shyamalan of plagiarism? Because other people have. I'm not doing that at all. What I am saying, however, is sometimes, and this doesn't happen all the time. Well, no. What happens is, all jokes aside, sometimes certain creators do get inspired. Like, it's not just a one-to-one, we're adapting Ghost in the Shell. They'll do a movie, they'll buy the rights to a Japanese movie or to an anime. Then they'll change the name when they bring it over here to a completely different story so they can kind of work it the way they want to. So it'll be, that has happened before. Not like a one-to-one like Ghost in the Shell or Dragon Ball Evolution vomits uncontrollably. But something a bit more like, I believe it was Perfect Blue, a really good movie that I would love to talk about with you one day, Tristan, on a Saturday. That movie, that anime film, was actually, the rights were purchased, and it became Black Swan with Natalie Portman. Yes. Yeah, and a completely different film, right? But similar underlying themes, but very different film. But we can still technically say, like, it came from this. So my thought was never, this reminds me of The Ring. But the second you made a joke to me about the videotape, and I was like, actually, a girl ghost who was, granted in this case, she was actually hurt by her mother, but a girl ghost abused by her parents and died and holds a grudge? Well, shit.
Yeah.
Actually? I was like, wait a second here. But no. Sadly, looking at the American version of The Ring came out in 2002. But looking at Ringu, if I can find it, Ringu, I'm pretty sure it came out in '99. We talked about that during a Friday Night Movies episode. 98. Well, this is a copy of The Ring. That settles it. No, No. The reason why I'm saying no is because, again, all jokes aside, this movie came out a year after, but it clearly had to film while.
Right.
So, like, yeah, so I'm assuming if the movie took like 2 years to film, I imagine it would. It clearly was filming while The Ring was filming, or Ringu. So, no, they are just complete coincidences. Sure, the novel came out much earlier, but the novel also, if you remember, Tristan, did not reflect the movie's supernatural elements. Like,
Right.
the Ringu movie was very supernatural compared to the novel, because we did that TV special for The Ring, and that was more like the novel. And that did not have much to do with the film, if you remember.
Yeah.
So anyway, but back to reality, back to ghosts, back to reality, back to this movie. You never saw it.
No, yeah, this movie, no.
So yeah.
Well, it's funny. I may have seen bits and pieces in passing because my mom is a big fan of like paranormal stuff. You know, like ghost movies and X-Files and all sorts, sorts of things like that.
But here's the thing, interesting thing. So yes, that's true. But you told me that, and I know you because I know you as a person, and especially assuming I know you as a kid. Granted, we didn't hang out when we were kids. We didn't know each other. We met in high school. I feel like you were just truly in passing. Like, oh, mom has that on. Mom, can I go play Game Boy? Sure. And you walked away. Like, you weren't sitting there like, let me see what's on this television. Because you've mentioned seeing it in passing, but it's such a big emotional ending that I feel like if you were actually paying attention, you'd be like, what the fuck is going on right now?
Yeah, no, because I remember the famous line, like, I see dead people. And
Well, yeah, pop culture.
That kind of caught me. Like, I was in the room for a few seconds. I think I was asking her something or talking with her. And then I heard that, and I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, oh.
she's like, yeah, this is the real world, son. Grow the fuck up.
Oh. Then I might have seen, like, one of the ghosts or something, like one of the a little bit more gory ones.
Okay, funny story. Funny story about that. There's going to be a sad story later from me, but here's a funny story, because this one just happened 3 hours ago when I was watching the movie again for the podcast. I screamed audibly, like very, very audibly. Like, I'm sure people in the neighborhood were like, what just happened? I screamed, oh, fuck! Okay. When I saw the back of the kid's head.
Yeah, oh.
Because like, just the way he... the one thing I have to say about this film that I definitely do enjoy is how, even though I do think that this film in some ways has a weird, I don't want to say identity crisis, but it does kind of jump between, in my opinion, different genres, if you will. Like it sticks to the thriller aspect hard, but at the same time with the emotional family drama, and because they didn't push... I don't want to say, because I'm happy that there aren't like big jump scares. Like, I'm not saying that I'm the biggest fan of that in every single horror film now. But at the same time, though, I will get to more of that later. What I'm trying to get to right now, though, is what I did love. This is the thing I loved. With the abrupt music cuts and just the, like, oh, let me, just the kid talking to you normally, like, hey, let me show you where my dad keeps his gun. And I'm just like, I wonder how the kid... Oh, fuck!
Oh, yeah.
That's the thing. It just makes you immediately think, well, I wonder how that kid died. Okay, I was told. Thanks, Shyamalan. Thank you so much for telling me.
It's... oh, God, because I knew it was going to be a gunshot wound. I just didn't know where.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah.
Like, you're missing half your skull. Okay.
That's the one thing that I actually enjoy about this movie so much, and I'm not going to try and take this into a road of like compared to movies nowadays, because again, I was a kid when this movie came out. It's not like I enjoyed it fully when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But one thing I want to mention though that I really love about this movie is that even with the twist at the end, yes, to some people it might seem very in your face, but I feel as if it was subtle compared to today, where like you'd have someone being like, I'm sorry to tell you this, but you're dead.
Yeah.
Oh, he's dead. I didn't know. All the visual fucking imagery, the ring falling to me isn't like a punch in the face compared to today, where I thought she was gonna say out loud, "Why did you have to die?"
Yeah, right.
Because that's what happens today. Because if some movie makers, not all, but some think if you don't say that out loud, people are like, "Did he really die? I don't know." Even cutting to him bleeding out, some people are like, but did he die? That's what people think. Some movie makers, or at least some producers, some people funding these movies are like, no, the audiences aren't going to get it unless he's saying, oh no, I am dying.
Right.
And then she says, oh no, honey, I cannot believe that you are out loud dying.
Yeah.
Yes, that tweaker shot me. My death, it is sad. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Bruce, you didn't have to have Bruce Willis's character saying that. You didn't have to have any of that. All you needed to have was the ring falling and him being like, that's odd. I always, like, why would this guy who talks about being so dedicated to his wife not be wearing his wedding ring?
Right. Yeah, I
And
agree.
then,
I think Tommy
and,
Thompson really sucked a big time on the play too. Ah, I fucked up the line. No, when he was talking
what?
to Cole about the kid who was in the
Oh,
cough syrup commercial.
yes. Just like, don't ever let kids, talk to you like that. That's bullshit.
Yeah,
You swore.
you said the S word.
Yeah.
I know.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, I love that. Like, I loved the real interactions like that. That's the one interesting thing about this movie. In some respects, it felt very real.
Yeah.
And very, like, just certain things that people did. I mean, there were some things, it's so interesting. So I feel like parts of this movie were so real, but they had to be counteracted with things that I think were completely Hollywood movie magic, where you'd have to have at least one person, which again, obviously, Bruce Willis is dead the whole time. Spoiler. But my whole point, and by the way, not the character. Bruce Willis filmed this while being dead. Came back to life. Very intense. Should have gotten
real twist.
Should have fucking gotten the Oscar. Really pissed. Really pissed about that. Filmed the movie while he was dead, but whatever. Anyway, but seriously though, what I feel like is if he was alive, right? The one big hint, I think the one big tell, now that you've seen the movie Tristan, and you know the big spoiler, the big twist. When watching it again, you're like, some person should have been like, is that your dad, kid? Who the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Now, I know things were a bit more lax, and depending on even now in the U.S., you can still have, like, oh, you look official enough. You're wearing a suit. Come on in here. You look official. You look like someone's dad, or someone's mom or whatever. Yeah. But still, I do think that even though this was 99, film 98, whatever, still, I do feel as if you'd have at least...
At some point, someone would ask, oh, by the way, like, how are you related? Assuming it, but still asking,
Mm-hmm, exactly. Because it's just odd. And also, even just some of his behavior seems a bit odd. Because here's the interesting thing, right? Yes, you have... Because here's the thing, right? Think of it like this. You have, even beginning the movie, right? After we think, oh, Bruce Willis clearly survived because here he is a few months later. But we have him sitting just on some bench across the street from some kid's house with writing down things on a paper. Like, you'd think that a police officer would be like, hi, you don't seem to be from the neighborhood.
Right.
Even just a simple talk of like, hi, I noticed you live around here?
Yeah, right.
Like, what are you doing? What's going on? Right? Like, literally, it's just... And also, another thing, too, that I mentioned to you, you would think that at one point in the movie, Bruce Willis would consult some kind of superior.
Right.
But, no, because throughout the entire movie, it seems like wherever the kid is, Bruce Willis can be.
Yeah, well, because another scene for me, too, was when she brought him to the hospital after those kids locked him in the room with the ghost.
Mm-hmm.
And... they were saying, oh, we're going to have you talk to the social worker and, go through some procedural questions. You think he would have spoken up like, at least given his opinion on the situation, being the kid's therapist, like, no, the mother isn't harming him. There's something else going on here. And yet he just sat there silently. I'm like, that would have been a good opportunity for you to, jump in there, bro.
See... And that's the thing that I love about this movie and about movie magic, if you will, is that, we never see, other than the kid, other than Cole in this movie, we never see characters pee. Why? Because you cut that shit out. Why didn't you see a character peeing? Unless in this case it was for comedic effect. Why do you need to see, like, you ever seen or about the show 24?
Yeah.
Yeah. Jack Bauer needs to save the world in 24 hours. What? He's going to take a 20-minute shit? Like, no, he needs to run. He needs to run a lot. But I'm being serious. You never see that stuff.
No, I understand.
So if you find out that Jack Bauer was dead the entire time, it makes sense. Oh, that's how he got from point A to point B. He ran through walls, or he didn't realize that he was materializing in a place.
There's two hilarious parts to that on my end.
Okay, I'm listening.
I mean, I phase through walls too, Matt. It's really weird. Oh, God.
Well, Matt, I might have been dead the entire time.
I don't know how to tell you this, but I don't think anyone can see me on the other side of the screen when we do Keikaku Corner.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. That would make so much sense. You know, someone in a random aside, someone in an episode of, by the way, if some of you guys don't know what Keikaku Corner is, we do a weekly, or sometimes bi-weekly, we do an anime, both anime, manga, tokusatsu, you know, video game, general, like a news podcast where we just talk about it and just, you know, have fun and talk about, you know, one story or whatever at a time. And so the reason why I'm saying this, though, is because one person once thought that it was me twice, because you looked like me so much when I was shaven. They thought it was just me and me. And that's a true comment. Someone was like, wait, is that also you? And I was like, no.
Yes, I'm his twin brother.
All right. Now things are getting really weird. And we're getting a little bit off topic.
Who's the evil twin? Yeah. So anyway, well, one last thing off topic, but the funny part was, I'm like, my mom also watched 24. That is how I know of that one. And then
your mom is very cool. Apparently, your mom
Yes.
might be cooler than you. Just putting that out there.
Yeah, no, I can understand that.
I could vouch for that. It's like, all right, cool. But anyway.
But the other joke was, it's funny that you mentioned, like, you know, it's like, you think Jack Bauer's going to take a 20-minute shit? I think my grandfather made a joke like that. Not those words.
But my dad made the peeing joke too.
Right.
Like,
we were watching Star Wars, I think, and he was just like looking, and it's like, you know, no one ever has time to like use the bathroom. It's all about lightsaber fights, and I died. I lost it.
I mean, look, I'm not trying to be anti any of the aliens in the movie or any of the other species, but how do they use the bathroom? I don't want to get into any of that. I just don't. I would rather not. Don't even say I mean. I don't want to hear about I don't want to hear about that random book that you read from 30 years ago that talked about how the fucking Cantina band took a shit. I don't want to hear about that.
It's a movie, but whatever.
Oh, okay, great. Anyway, let's move aside. So talking about, yeah, I see dead people. So talking about the movie magic, though, back to that, because if you guys don't know, I have the movies on in the background as we talk about them. So movie magic, his study is locked. We never see him find the key to open it.
He always looks. It looks like he's always just about to put his hand in his pocket, like he's feeling his pockets, like, where's my key? So
and
like,
he can't find it. Well, no.
He automatically thinks, oh, he's just about to pull it out of his pocket, and then just cut, you know, to that he's down there.
Yes. Or they just cut to him doing something else.
Right.
Not being in his study, right? Like, because it always seems like he can't find the key. To me, that's how I took it. Like, oh, I can't find the key. And then he finds it somewhere else, maybe. But we never see him find the key. We just see him be, like, jiggling the lock every time. And then we see him either down in the study or somewhere else. So, again, taking that whole idea of, oh, it's Hollywood, you know, we're not going to show this and we're not going to show that, and kind of playing with our heads in that way. Right. I think that was a beautiful thing to do in this movie, because it took you a very long time, as it should, to get that Bruce Willis was dead.
Yeah. And that's the beautiful part of the movie. It's just, it's not until almost the very end do you finally realize.
Like, wait a minute.
That's an amazing twist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, because people, and this is kind of why we're going through M. Night Shyamalan's filmography in order, because as you kind of start to know that he's known for twists, you start to go into a movie expecting the twist, and you know him for that, though, because, again, that's also seeped into pop culture through memes and things like that. But even though you were expecting a twist, you weren't expecting something like that.
Oh. And it's funny.
What were you expecting? Or did you forget because of how gripping the movie was?
I actually forgot, and then I thought about it, I'm like, wait a minute. Wait, the twist has got to be in there somewhere. I forgot.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, no, my thought was, oh, maybe this is before, like, he was always known for having a huge twist, and then it happened. I'm like, no, no, there it is. It's here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, what I think is really funny is that this is the movie I would argue, and yes, he had some successful stuff before this, but this was the movie in this genre that really put him on the map, in my opinion.
Right.
I know that he made some other stuff before this, and you can look at his filmography to see other stuff that he made. But a movie like this, at least in the U.S.,
yeah,
I should also mention that too, in the U.S., a movie like this is what made people really go, oh shit, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but I'm gonna fucking learn.
right.
Like people try to make fun of his name all the time, which I think is stupid. But people try to make fun of his name all the time, like, or how to try to pronounce his name. But I'm like, no, Shyamalan. Holy shit.
Yeah.
like after this movie, I'm like, yeah. Although I will admit, I think it was a little, and I hate to be this kind of guy because, like, we have YouTube channels that star me for like 85% of the channel. So I hate to be this guy. But it was a little self-indulging to have an M. Night Shyamalan film at the end. That was a bit much for me. I was like, granted, I think maybe because now in hindsight, I know who he is, so I know.
Yeah.
But I guess maybe in '99 with the internet in its infancy, it's kind of like he's putting a stamp on it. So I totally get it. I think just because I know him, and we all do now, he's done enough movies that we can do almost a full 12 Nights of Shyamalan without going into his TV works. So to me, I'm like, I know who you are. It feels a bit much.
Right.
But to be fair, yes, this was his big, I guess some people could say shot, but either way, if you want to call it a shot, I'll say this much. He hit right on target.
Yeah.
Right? One thing that I loved, something that I found very interesting, when the one kid has his arm, when he has his arm around Cole, that one bully, and he's just like, hey, you like that I tried that? Like that I did that? That's something, that's the one kid who thinks he's the actor, because he's fucking commercial.
Right, yeah.
Fucking little shit. But anyway, I gotta be honest though, other than that scene in the closet, at least from what we saw of him getting bullied, I would love to have gotten bullied that way. Dude, social isolation would have been amazing. Like, again, from what we've seen.
Yeah.
Because if the worst thing that happened was, granted, the teacher was bullshit, right? But other than the teacher, if the worst thing that happened was people being like, I don't want to talk to that kid, I'd be like, oh, please leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah.
Compared to the bullying that I got, I was like, I would definitely prefer everyone being like, ew, him. I'd be like, yeah, get the fuck away from me.
I feel like it's opposite ends of the extreme, but yeah.
Yes, that's fair.
I understand what you mean, yeah.
No, that is fair, though, yes. But, oh, by the way, one thing, and I know that, again, both are actors, but something that I find very, very, very convincing for some reason. The mom and the kid, who, Haley Joel Osment, plays voice actor for Sora from Kingdom Hearts. Swear to God. I'm not kidding, Tristan. I'm being dead serious.
I know. I believe you.
And this came out in 99, so in what, 02? He was only 3 years older?
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
I mean,
see what I'm saying?
Sense,
so,
yeah.
Yes. Sora's voice, he wasn't like some, 22-year-old trying to do a voice for Sora. He was, right. Well, because that happens, like, who's going to voice this 8-year-old? Johnny Young Bosch. What? He'll do a voice. He'll do a voice. He'll be fine. It's like, it's an 8-year-old, and it's Johnny Young Bosch. What else do you expect? He's amazing. It's like, he is, but, kid's 8. So in this case, it was actually, Disney tried to get, for Kingdom Hearts, people who were around the same age, somewhat.
Right.
And yeah, so they cast him. So anyway, but he, as an actor in this role, and even the mom, they felt like a mother and son. Like, they felt real.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard for me to be like, oh, they're just acting like there's a problem. Like, it felt like it was, it was, I don't know, it just felt real to me. Maybe it's just me. But yeah. One thing that's
they
funny,
definitely had the family dynamic down. It the family issues presented felt like a real family struggling.
And that's kind of why I think you were telling me around the end of the movie, or not even at the end, in the halfway point, you're just like, this whole thing is sad.
Yeah, I was like, everyone's life in this movie is so sad. Cole, the mom, the wife, the therapist. Jesus Christ.
And I texted you. I basically said straight up, I put quotes as if you were talking. I was like, Jesus, everyone in this movie is sad. Somebody throw a pie or something. Like, it's just,
And then the kids threw Cole in the closet, and I'm like, that's not what I wanted.
that is the last thing I wanted
That's
thrown anywhere.
the exact opposite. No, I thought it's well, it's not funny, but I kind of thought he was going to retaliate or something, or like the ghost was going to come out and he was accidentally going to like knock one of the other kids down the staircase or something.
That's so odd. I thought the same exact thing. That must have happened in some other horror movie in pop culture that you and I know about. If you guys are watching this through our YouTube channel, comment below. And I'm being dead serious here because I could swear that that did happen in a movie. It was an accident, and then the kid was it's same similar situation. The kid was labeled a freak by people.
Right.
They were pushing the kid around. The kid retaliated, and all of a sudden the parents are like, "How dare you have done that to my child?" I thought that was going to happen, so it must have happened in a different movie, and you and I are picking it up.
I mean,
Like
I think it's
similar
also
wavelengths.
yeah, it's probably partly due to that. The other part, I would say, it would it would be the only, like one of the only things in that situation. It's like, oh, how could things get worse? Oh God, he accidentally maimed another child.
I love that he accidentally maimed. Like, because when I think of maiming, I think of it as like full on amputation when I hear the word maim. So it's just like, how did Timmy lose an arm? That kid. And
Internet.
it's freaking no, and it's no, but I love it though because it's little Haley Joe Osment. How did he lose an arm? Just points at him. Little, actually, funny that you mentioned internet. With his big teeth, little Haley Joe Osment could have been the best Timmy Turner. See
Oh
those teeth? Look at those teeth. Huge.
damn it, man.
Cosmo would have been played by Bruce Willis.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Yeah, this
I have a
kid
nickel.
could have used
Well,
fairy godparents. Jesus, can you make
actually,
the dead people stop appearing? Oh shit, I don't think we can. Can we like do a wish for that? I don't know.
no, they have to open up a book that's like it's like the Hispanic Juandísimo. It's like Rules de los Muertos.
Oh my
Can
God.
we? Are we allowed to do that? But no. But one thing I wanted to say though is,
Wake up the dead.
but imagine just Bruce Willis as Cosmo from Fairly Odd Parents. Just yeah, I have a nickel, and I named it Philip, but it's a girl
Oh
nickel.
my God. I'm like, what line could he possibly use? And then, yeah, you connect. I didn't think you could do it. Far be it from me to doubt you, though.
I'm a therapist slash cop slash superhero slash ghost. But if there's one thing that I know, is that didn't this kid like just I love that trial by the way. One of the first I think the first episode of Fairly Odd Parents. When Cosmo was like 5 different professions
Right. Oh,
in the trial. It's like I might be a fireman slash lawyer slash anyway. But back to the movie. Another thing too that was so interesting is how the dynamic between the therapist played by Bruce Willis and his wife, at this point his widow, when we realize later, their dynamic that we just think that she's just being so fucking cold.
yeah.
Like no, because
That, that
doesn't
was
she
the other
just?
thing that made me
Yes.
feel weird about the situation because usually, like, if you're having, like, I mean, I wouldn't know. I don't have a
You haven't
spouse,
been,
but like,
you haven't been married, yes.
right. But like marital problems, there's usually an argument. Like I get that you become distant afterwards, but there's usually something there first, not just directly to being completely cold to the other person. I'm
And
like,
my
there's a
thing
few
is,
steps missing here.
and you know what the thing is too, if they're separated and he's trying to get back together, then you'd imagine that he wouldn't be showing up to their house or apartment or
Right.
whatever you want to call it. You know, he would be out the door somewhere else. So the fact that he could still come home like that and he could still try like that and she could still, rebuke his everything, even though it doesn't seem like they're split up. Like, it seemed like so much happened, even though it was only supposed to be like a few months or something like that in between the death. It felt like something so huge happened that he truly believes, like, oh man, I've been so lost in my work. But the funny thing is, both because it's a movie and because, of course, he's a ghost. I'm sure if you asked him what his work was, he wouldn't remember. It'd be a haze and a fog. Because that's the interesting thing. He can just materialize wherever he wants to around different beings, attached to different things, i.e. his wife, his work, things like that, that keep him attached. That's why the woman in the ring shop mentioned that people stick around and they get attached to things even after they die.
Oh,
he was attached. That scene was hilarious. But he was attached to the wedding ring, and I have no idea why he was attached to the kid, though. I know, like, thematically it makes sense, but there's nothing, in no way does the cat... But what I'm saying is, yes, he's attached to the character because he feels like, oh, this is a kid I can do right by because I didn't do right by that other kid. Right. But in
and
theory,
they were almost
though...
exactly, like, almost the exact same circumstance. Granted, the other kid was affected by spirits, too, but he didn't know.
Yes. No. But what I'm trying to get at in particular is, like, the way the woman in the ring shop described it, granted, she's not some freaking, spiritual, she isn't a shaman or anything like that, but the way she described it, though, it's like, oh, I get why Bruce Willis is still here because he's attached to the wedding ring. But the fact that he was like, oh, and while I'm here, there's a kid, it's just like, all right, are there, like, ghost police? Is there, like, a ghost Chris Hansen? Sit over here, sir.
Oh, my God.
Like, well, no, because it is... In no way is it a problem, like, in terms of, like, I'm not saying that, Bruce Willis's character in any way is conniving or a terrible person. In fact, he's just a good guy trying to help people out. It's interestingly enough, I thought he was a smug asshole, but when he actually remembered the guy's name and remembered his history, I was like, oh, the guy just is jilted because of, obviously, he felt like he'd been wronged because technically he had been, in theory, not enough to, you should never shoot anyone, but he was wronged in the sense that, he was... I'm sure he thought, hey, if I'm put on medication, it'll be okay. Hey, if this happens, it's okay. And it didn't matter what he was on. He kept on seeing ghosts.
Right.
And, it's so interesting. And it's kind of funny because it's just like, Philadelphia, it's very, it's haunted by spirits. And I'm kind of sitting around and I'm just like, yeah, because no one has died anywhere else. I think you actually thought that. You said that to me, sort of, didn't you?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm like, wow, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of people that can see the dead, and there's also a lot of dead hanging around in Philadelphia.
Well, it's just funny because,
I guess they made the point, the teacher, like, this is one of the oldest cities in America, so, yeah.
But still, nobody died in New York. Or there's no Native Americans or anyone else there's no ghosts that are just Neanderthals. Neanderthals didn't have souls. Like, what are you doing? Like, it's just so silly. I know suspension of disbelief, but it's always silly when, you're trying to ground it in reality. And it's not like an M. Night Shyamalan thing. Just in general, anything that's trying to ground it in reality. And it's not making it seem like there's only a few dead in a house. Right. There's just dead everywhere. So it's just like, if there's dead everywhere, this kid should be in a cloud of bodies and random dead people. Like, the entire city of Philadelphia to him should be like some giant rave where it's like, excuse me, Cole, are you okay? Just a lot of dead here. Just a lot of dead. Look, guys, can you just move along? All right, I'm sure all of you are doing just fine. Your kids are doing just fine. And if they're not, then they're fucking dead, and you can bring them back there with you. Just please leave. Like, the entire city should be just cluttered with dead.
Yeah.
But,
Try to catch the bus. Like, please, come on.
Can you not? I love how the teacher... And by the way, the stuttering thing was bullshit, and I know it was the idea of, like, oh, even the teacher snapped. But even then, I was like, that teacher should be, like, super fucking fired. Difference in the times, but I'm like, that teacher, and also it moved the plot along. They didn't like randomly replace the teacher, but I was like, that teacher should have been so fucking fired. Like, the amount of fired that he should have been versus what he was, little too low. Like, oh, you stuttered a lot. You're a freak. All right, I think we should give him at least administrative leave. But anyway, before that though, I loved how the teacher was like, oh, this used to be a courthouse. Yeah, people were hung here. What? No one was ever hung in a courthouse. Really, Teach?
Who told you that?
I know you're trying to... I know you don't want the kids to learn some horrifying shit, but, like, really, though? You're going to tell them to their face? No one was hung in a courthouse. Yeah, they were given free cookies. What the fuck? like, you could at least say they were in jail. here,
Yeah.
but they were never hung. But it's just so funny. It's just, and I granted, yes, they were kind of young, but like, by the way, another thing too, I want to mention. Maybe this is just regional, and I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I feel like it's regional. If that kid was, in this case, Cole, was saying such metal shit, depending on where he is in the U.S., he would instantly be the cool kid.
Mm.
I feel like it's regional, but in
Yeah.
some parts of the U.S., if he's talking about like, oh, people were hung here, it was fucking gnarly, it was gory as shit, the kids would be like, high five, depending on where it is. Like, no, because as long as he's not talking about like I see dead people in school.
Yeah. No,
People,
I get
I
you.
see dead people is for high school. When everyone's like talking about Linkin Park and Evanescence, that's when it's like, oh, really? What,
All right,
did you?
you
They
know
just
what?
summon them?
I feel personally attacked.
Did you summon them using a Ouija board?
No.
By the yeah, right. But anyway, so but speaking of what was that?
Speaking of not touching Ouija boards.
Speaking of not touching Ouija boards, never fucking do that ever. Even if they were made by Hasbro, which there have been, but never do that.
Nope.
No, thank you.
Nope.
No, I'm good. But one thing interesting is how we have this subplot that we think that she's like she being Bruce Willis's wife slash widow, whatever you want to call her. She is cheating on him with another man.
Yeah.
How interesting is that now that she's a grieving widow, watching the video of her and her husband, like their wedding video, trying to move on, but also still clinging to the fact that she's only been without him for a few months. And here we have this young dude that's just like, hey, how you doing?
Yeah, and here we have this fuckboy.
I mean, he was odd because I never thought of him as a complete dickwad. Even with the new, like, knowing what happened, he's not a complete asshole, but it still kind of seems odd.
Yeah, that scene when he stormed out and drove off, that was like,
seemed
all right.
I don't know. When it's muted, when I'm watching it muted, he seemed angry. When it wasn't muted, he seemed like, oh god, I was such an idiot. Like, it seemed like he was putting himself down, like, I can't believe I just did that. I'm so dumb. I don't think he seemed mad at her.
Well, the first one, when he walked out, I like the second one when the therapist is walking up and he's trying to, like, hey, who the hell are you, and stop him, and then he walks out the house.
Oh, okay. No, I'm talking about, like, this is the one before we see, like, the teacher and the stuttering, that scene when Bruce Willis is in the basement. I don't think he was mad. It didn't seem like he was mad.
No.
Again, this is if I'm watching it on off mute. When I'm watching it muted, he does look upset. Like, ugh, like it hurt. But when I'm watching it with everything intact, like with the audio and everything, it doesn't look like he's, like, mad. It looks like he's like, wow, I'm an idiot. I just asked a widow. I talked about what things I'm going to pick up from wherever the fuck he was going to pick them up from.
It's funny.
Like, he just sounds like an idiot.
Yeah, to me it kind of seemed like he was like, no, I should go back and, like, actually ask her. No, I shouldn't. No, I should. I should.
Okay, but it doesn't seem like he's angry or anything like that,
No, he was more like, oh, I should do it now. No, I shouldn't.
Yeah.
But just hearing, what did he call him? Cheese Dick, I think?
He called him Cheese Dick, and I was like, why does that... No, but here's the thing, though. Him calling him Cheese Dick kind of reminds me of when someone's name is maybe like Brian and you call them Dan, and they're like, and everyone in the room, including Brian, agrees he could be a Dan. Like, that guy could be a Cheese Dick. Don't you see it? You're like, yeah, I kind of see it. Right? Like, I'm looking at him, and I'm like, you could pass for a Cheese Dick. I don't know, man. Maybe it's just me. But one thing I want to say as well is that when Haley Joel Osment's character, when I keep on forgetting his name, when Corey? Cole, thank you. When Cole was blowing the pencil up and down, I sat there and I was like, wow, that is my childhood. I did that as a child. Wow. I don't know if you ever did that, Tristan, but it's super fun.
Not during class, but I've definitely done that. Yeah.
Okay, fair. But another thing I want to mention, and I love how in some cases, in my opinion anyway, when they showed the dead, right, the music changes, everything picks up, but then other times they want to freak you out even more, so they do something that you would think would be normal. They don't blast the music, You would think, oh, they're gonna blast the music, and that's when I know the dead are here. That's when things are terrifying. No, it's silent.
Yeah.
And the two times that I remember, and the first time I might be misremembering a little bit, but it was when when Cole was talking to the woman who died in the fire.
Right.
I assume she was like some drama teacher or something.
Yeah.
So she's just talking about the makeup, and then when she walks away, he's just like, "Who are you talking to?" And then I see the burns, and I don't believe there was a hit from the musical score. I think it was just quiet.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, wow. Like, it's the little things that I think they really submerged you into this world that Cole lives in, where the dead walk amongst the living. The only way you can tell is if someone has a gnarly fucking, wound or something. Something that makes you go, I think you might be dead. And they're just like, want me to tell you? Because, yeah, I'm dead. And it's like, okay, now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about everything. Because that's the interesting thing about Bruce Willis's character. He always wore the coat, so I'm sure that Cole might have known that he was dead, perhaps.
Right.
But we sure as fuck didn't.
Yeah.
Because he didn't get shot in the head.
Right.
See, Bruce Willis walking around getting shot in the head, one of two things are happening. One, you're like, okay, I think he's dead. Or two, you're like, this is an action movie with Bruce Willis, he's just fine.
Because when he got shot in the first scene, it didn't seem like a fatal shot at first. And then it wasn't, like, now that I think about it later, it's like, no, if it went through, that probably would have hit one of his kidneys. And yeah, you're not coming back from that.
Well, what's interesting to me is, I think it's just because, definitely before this movie, everyone had seen Bruce Willis as this big action star.
Right.
Because you saw him in, the Die Hard movies and in a bunch of other films as well. So to me, at this point, Bruce Willis has cemented himself as the guy who's like, shoot me, you better shoot me thrice. You know?
Yeah.
So seeing him get shot and realizing that throughout the entire movie he's dead, you're like, oh wow.
Yeah.
Like, oh damn. Like, the same way that I feel like, and it's in a different way, but like seeing other big time action stars, people like Michael Keaton and like other action stars, like Terry Crews doing like comedy roles or things like that, or even like Michael Keaton doing comedy roles. Seeing them in that different environment kind of like makes you go, oh, but I've seen them doing this. Like I've seen Michael Keaton as Batman, or I've seen Terry Crews as Power. So when you see him, do something a bit more comedic, but not as big muscly guy, you're like, oh right, yes, there are other facets to him as an actor or something like that. So in seeing Bruce Willis in this, yes, you could see him as leading man who loves his wife and who's going through a terrible, like that's not something that I think people couldn't see him as. It's the fact that, oh God, like John McClane died in the first 5 minutes of the movie and we didn't know. God damn it. That's the way I look at it, right? Like, because I know you haven't seen Die Hard, but you still know about it from pop culture and stuff like that. So you know him as, I assume you know him as big action star. Yeah?
Yeah.
Because, has Bruce Willis been in anything that you've seen? Because I know he's never been in a Star Wars, but...
He has. I just can't think of it.
Not off the top of your head. But I know he has to have been in something that you know. But anyway...
It's funny. He's always the actor that, like, when I see him, I'm like, oh, of course I know him, but the face never comes when someone says his name. Mm-hmm. Like, I had to think for a second. It's like Bruce Willis. I'm like, oh, right, duh.
Okay, that's fair.
The name doesn't do it for me. It's weird.
I want to say it's blasphemy, but fuck it. That happens. Everyone has blind spots.
Well, I'm better at facial recognition, too. Like, names do nothing for me half the
time. Also, if you may have seen, he was in Red. I've never seen Red, but it was the live-action adaptation of the comic book, because he was in 2 of those. I don't know if he was in Sin City, but he may have been.
Yeah, I believe he was, yeah.
There you go. Maybe that's what you saw him in? Or if you saw a trailer or something?
Because, my dad really enjoyed the Sin City series, so...
There we go. That's probably where you saw him then.
Probably.
So anyway, but speaking about...
he was in a Gorillaz video, too. Old style.
All right, we'll talk about that a little bit later, I guess. He was on SNL, too. I might have shown you some of his SNL clips, potentially. Because he's very funny on SNL. But anyway, Yeah, so, the mom at one point could have actually been Marissa Tomei. How funny would that have been? And if you don't know, Marissa Tomei is currently Aunt May in
Oh,
Spider-Man: Homecoming.
right.
Yeah, Aunt May, who everyone's like giving her free dinner. Aunt May. Oh wow, it's on the house. Yeah, I wonder why. What's that, Peter?
Nothing. Oh
Anyway,
God.
yeah,
Yeah.
that stuff. Anyway, anywho,
Uh.
oh my god. But anyway, so what's interesting about speaking of the something you mentioned where you were like you texted me, you were like, just talk to your wife. Yes, we talked about the fact that their marriage is clearly seemingly crumbling. But what's interesting though, and I think this is where I said way earlier, where things kind of stretch too far away from reality. When Bruce Willis sees the Zoloft, sees the
Yeah.
antidepressants, and it's like, what? Like, what is your wife part of a religion where bath time is sacred? You talk to her. Hey,
Right.
honey, by the way, great butt, but also,
Are
uh,
you okay?
yeah, what's going on? I mean, I didn't realize you were, he's a therapist for frig's sake.
Right.
So to
Yeah.
him,
Exactly.
he's really sitting there like, oh my God, my wife is on. Now, granted, I'm sure there's maybe potentially the stigma of like, oh, she's on antidepressants. That might be there too, sadly.
I
But just
mean,
the general
I feel
idea,
like the idea
well,
there's some shock to it too. Like, even if you are, like even being a therapist, like his, the character is, it's probably just the shock of it. Like, oh, wow, she's depressed. Like, not
well,
being able to handle it in that moment.
Well, yeah, I think too, because the thing is, you can look at it two ways. Nowadays, and I think at the time too, you looked at it as, oh, I'm her husband. I feel like I should know if she's on antidepressants,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
I think that's accurate no matter what time I think you're watching this in, right? However, I hope not, but at the time, I think there was another layer. And again, I really hope not, but I feel like the layer was, she's taking antidepressants.
Yeah.
Because this is late '90s, early 2000s. I
Sure.
mean, well, this came out in '99, but still, like it. This wasn't a time where everyone was like, yeah. I mean, some people say no, everyone was okay with depression in the '90s, and like they kind of were, but it was still considered by some people, and still
Yeah.
technically is to some, new agey bullshit. It's like,
Right.
no, that's
Um,
actually not true. Depression exists. People have it, and people need medication. If people that are getting overprescribed are getting overprescribed due to physical concerns, not mental concerns. That's a whole different podcast. But you know where I'm coming from, Tristan.
yeah.
Like people get overprescribed because they're like, my arm hurts, and someone's like, oh, you should definitely take this, and all of a sudden, by the time before they realize it, they're like, oh, my arm still kind of hurts, and I can't pay for this expensive medicine. So let's try some heroin or something like that. But anyway, interesting thing. Not a side note. Back to the actual movie itself. M. Night Shyamalan made a cameo in the movie.
Really.
Yes, which by the way, people shit on him for it, but I can't because again, 85% of all of our YouTube channels have me on it, so I can't shit on him for that. He was the doctor, the one that you were like, come on, it's not. She's not hurting her kid.
Oh God. Really?
Yes, that was him. He's an Indian man.
Yeah. No,
He's
I
yes.
know that, but like,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, yes, yes. Yeah, that's him. He was because it's funny because I'm sitting here. I'm like, he's gonna make a cameo. Where's his cameo? Because he makes a cameo in almost every. I think either almost or every single one of his movies. And again, I can't shit on him for it. If I did that, I would be the biggest asshole. So I can't really, because some people are like, oh, he's in his own movie. Look, I mean, heck, even if he's the main character, I can't put him down. I really can't. As long as it's a good movie.
I mean, like the thing is, too, it's not like it's not like it's an unbelievable thing either. It, everything else takes place in the real world or real life, other than
Hmm.
the paranormal aspects, which may or may not be true as well,
Well,
depending on what you
your
believe.
belief. But
Yeah.
my thing is this, Tristan. What I'm trying to say is, when I talk about his cameo, if he cameos as like, which I think he may have done this once. So I feel like in this case I kind of get it. But I feel like unless he like if he was the guy that was like, hello, who are you? I also see dead people. Bruce, you're a ghost. I'd be like, what? What the fuck? Oh,
Yeah.
by the way, looks at the kid. By the way, you're gonna be fine because I also see dead people, and I'm just fine. Oh, why, thank you, Mister. Thanks. I'm M. Night Shyamalan. I solved all the problems. No, he's just some random doctor who's just
Right.
like, yeah.
Exactly.
Who, by the way, funnily enough, he puts himself in the role of a character who we're supposed to kind of hate a little bit
Yeah.
because we're like, no, it's the ghosts, you fool.
Right. I even said that to you. I'm like, I know I can't exactly be mad at him because it's like from the outside, yeah, of course, any normal person would,
It's
any practicing
ghosts.
doctor would have to ask, obviously. But
No, but I love it though. It's ghosts. He's like, ghosts, ma'am. No one would ever think of something that stupid. You motherfucker. If he wrote that in there,
yeah, right.
well, you're an ass. No, but
Oh god.
but but yeah. So I have to say though, his cameo, in my opinion, at least in this movie, was not upsetting to me. You know, he could have been here. As long as he wasn't like if he was in the ring store and he took the place of that woman, the one who talked about people, you know, like, oh, some people pass, they still hold on to these things. If he was that woman, so if he played that character, then I'd be like, all right, it's a bit much. Because
Right.
again, he's coming off as like wise guru. It's like you wrote yourself into this. You know, either be the main character or don't. You know, like either have a fun little cameo or don't be like wise soothsayer. That helps. You know, so that's what I'm saying. Like the fact that he was just some doctor
Right.
is again, it's a nice little small cameo by the guy who
Yeah.
created the movie.
Right. I
That's
don't
okay.
see. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. But speaking of that scene, though, other than her being this, you know, this wise, you know, person who's like, oh, and gives us, you know, insight into the plot, it was so funny how she was trying to sell that ring.
Right.
And no, but I don't know. To me, it's really funny because she's just like, oh, this ring, it would look so good on you, and the husband's like, I swear to fucking God. And by the way, here's a funny thing too with a ring store. At least one, if it. By the way, if they only specify in selling wedding rings, here's something really funny about that store. They don't need him or her to ever come back if they're dissatisfied with their purchase. Like if
Right.
she's like, "Oh my God, I really want this," and he's like, "Fine, I'll buy it." What are they gonna do? What? Maybe return the ring for a divorce, which it seemed like that couple might have been going down that road. But
Yeah.
it might have been going down that road. But my point is that other than potentially returning a ring to try to get some money you know, from it or something like that, there's no. What I'm trying to get at here is that like it's not like they need to really worry about customer service. It's like if you make your sale, you make your sale. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, I will never come back here again. If you stay married, you won't need to. We only sell wedding rings, sir. Do you see
Right.
where I'm getting at? So it's kind of funny how she was pushing the envelope so hard, and it's kind of like, well, I mean, it's not like they need to sell, you know, toilet paper, food.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They don't need to sell anything else where it's like, damn it, we need these people to come back. It's like, if you sell the wedding ring, if it's a happy marriage, you're good. That's not on you, right? That's not on you in customer service. But, oh, so I don't know about you. And again, this is something that, again, is Hollywooded up. And it's a movie, so, you know, that's kind of why it happened. But this is the part where I think it's stretching reality. Bruce Willis just very much opening up about his wife to a kid that is clearly 8.
I
Like,
mean,
that was a bit too real. You know what I'm
well,
saying? Like,
on one
I don't
hand,
know.
I feel like, I mean, Cole was kind of in the spot where, look, I don't want you to talk down to me with the bedtime stories right now. I'm like, you know, he was going through some shit himself. It's like, I think Cole was the kind of kid that appreciated the realism, or
No,
like,
but he didn't. I'm not saying he had to lie. All he had to say was, listen, I can't be your therapist anymore. I haven't been focusing on what's right. But it feels like he's constantly be giving him little, like, snippets of, like, man, me and my wife. And it's like, Jesus, dude. Like, I don't know. Like, again, I think
I
of it
feel
as
like,
more like movie. I don't know. Like, you wouldn't, like, you could talk to your therapist about that, Tristan, but you're 25.
well, yeah, I mean, well, okay,
Yes. That's what I'm saying. Think about Kid You. do you think it's appropriate to your therapist be like, I don't know, man, but I think she's banging cheese dick? Like, I feel like, I just feel like it's a little odd when you're 8 to 10 years old. I'm just saying.
I mean, I feel like Cole is kind of a special case in the sense that he's dealing with spirits.
Maybe not that exact quote.
No, but I just feel like he's a pretty receptive kid,
Mm-hmm.
and he wants, you know, he wants to level with him. Like, I know something's bothering you too. Don't lie to me just because I'm the kid. I get like him saying, "Oh, I really can't talk about that." Like being professional. Obviously, he's, like we're here for you, not me.
Right. Sorry, just the scene where the mom is just looking at the scratches, and I'm laughing because I'm only thinking about her calling up the parents, being like, "Hey,
Oh,
next time, tell your kids not to put their damn hands on my boy." And I was like, for the wrong thing, but still, you go, mom.
yeah,
I was like, you. It's funny. I never hit him yesterday.
yeah,
Well, because I'm sure they've off camera potentially bullied him in other ways, but it's kind of funny. It's like, we didn't hit him at the party.
yeah.
Like, it's kind of like they're denying it, but in theory, it's like, it's only not true of that day. But one thing, I don't know, can you just imagine the kid just as he's just giving that big, like, I see dead people speech to Bruce Willis's character, just, hey, mister? Yeah, what's up, kid? I don't think she's banging cheese dick. Like, thanks, kid. That means a lot.
I feel like you would have. I feel like you might have. Well, that was the other thing too. I think it was the idea Cole wanted. He wanted to tell him the secret, but he wanted to know that he could trust him with it. So it's the idea of, if you tell me your secret, I'll tell you mine.
And I like that he's smart enough to know, like, he's definitely smart enough to know, hey, people definitely are going to find this weird. And that's the cool thing about the kid, too. Like, he's not one of those, like, I don't know, because, like, in some cases, kids, I think, are really put down in media. Like, people think, like, oh, that's stupid kid.
Right.
And I like how Cole was treated very fairly by Shyamalan and other people that collaborated on this film. Like, they definitely treated Cole like he's a human being, not just some shitty little kid. Granted, yes, I still think the wife stuff was a bit much, but you're right. It's not like Bruce Willis didn't try to hold back as a character.
Yeah, like, he
the character
tried
tried to
to
hold
still,
back. Yeah.
he still made it like, oh, there's this guy named this, and he, obviously talking about himself, but still not not coming out and saying directly, like, yeah, my wife's banging cheese dick, kid. He's like, oh, I'm sorry about that, mister.
Yeah. One thing that so
What's
now we're getting
cheese dick? I'll tell you when you're older.
I'll tell you when you're older. All right, well, I'll be older and you won't be. What? We'll get to that later.
I'll tell you when you're older. Wait, what?
Oh, so before we get to my sad story about my experience with this movie, I want to talk to you about, you originally thought, even with the title card and everything, you still felt, and I understand why you felt this way, that because of how much the kid, in this case Haley Joel Osment, looked like a younger version of the guy that shot Bruce Willis's character in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You thought it was a flashback, which, by the way, while you would think Bruce Willis would look a bit younger, he still kind of, even now in his older age, perpetually looks that way. Just less hair. Right? But he perpetually looks that way, in my opinion anyway. So, yes, you would think that he'd be flashing back, maybe like 18 or 10 years earlier. But even then, with 10 years, like, they wouldn't get a new actor, potentially. So you're just like, is this 10 years ago? Even though you knew it wasn't. Your brain was still tricking you because not that you knew that he died, but again, after such a big scene, in a way, I think that's why they kind of relied on us knowing him as an action star or, knowing him in action movies. No, because hear me out. In no way should you have a flash after him getting shot like that and be like, he's fine. Yeah, he's just doing another case. That's all. He's just helping out another kid. Why would he be limping? He's Bruce Willis. What do you mean?
Right.
Because after a shot like that, I know you thought it wasn't as fatal, but even then, after a shot like that, again, it's relying on us thinking, oh, this is a film. Not, right, people die. Even though, funnily enough, the entire movie is throwing in our face the fact that people die.
Right.
And yet, the one dead guy that's across from us the entire time, we just think he's amongst the living for some reason.
Mm.
So that's funny. Oh, you also had a funny. I say it's funny only because of my response. You had a very interesting observation. You were like, no one's going to ask who they are at the funeral?
Yeah, that was a big one for me when they both walk in. Like, I know a lot of people show up, and you might not know like somebody's extended family or some parts, but like usually, even if it's like a private, like it was at their house. I feel like there's usually
Yes.
at least somebody there at the door asking, or like saying, welcoming you in and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
somebody would have asked, and you're related to, you know.
Yeah, so here's the thing, and here's why I kind of agree with you. Hear me out. Was here. Okay, so I'm gonna start with where I agree, and this is some of the stuff that I even told you. Like, all right, common ground. Here's the thing, right? Off camera. Yes, the character. Yes, they're at someone's house. So you would think only because it's residential, someone should be like, oh, and how do you know her or something like that. Especially because when you look at when you look at Cole, he is in this weird in between because he's not old enough to know. At least he doesn't look like he's old enough to know the girl that died, and he's too old to know the little girl on the swings, the little sister.
Right.
So he's kind of in this in between where it's like, how did you know her if you're in that many different grades? Granted, whatever. But that's just my thought. The thing where I disagree, and this is where I came in, I was like, actually, Tristan. But here's the thing, though. This was actually at a funeral parlor, so that's why it's a little bit different. I was for my grandpa's funeral a while ago. My God, I think I was in 8th grade, right? So at this point, it's like 12 years ago, I think. When I went to the funeral parlor, and at one point, out of nowhere, you just had these huge, maybe like 5, 6 biker dudes come in. I don't know how they paid their respects. I know they didn't pray, but it just felt like they just gave like my grandpa like a thumbs up and a dude bro, like and walked out. And it was so funny because people in my family were like, did they know Poppy? Did they know Dad? And someone was like, I forgot who, it was my uncle or someone else, was like, yeah, he had maybe drinking buddies, or yeah, because I don't know if this was the grandpa that used to be a truck driver, because I know another one of my grandpas did, but I don't know if he also did stuff like that, or if he was just, he was just huge into drinking, so he would just make a bunch of different drinking buddy friends and stuff like that. But it was just so funny, because just imagine, right, like, I'm at like your funeral, and a bunch of bikers show up, and I'm like, well, that's really fucking odd. Doesn't matter who it is. Just you're at you're at someone you know's funeral, and all of a sudden an older person, and all of a sudden bikers show up. You're like, what? You're like, well, this is interesting. Because like other funerals, I would imagine you can go, oh wait, no, but that's so and so, so and so, so and so. But just a bunch of random bikers, all in full gear, by the way. Like you could just, it's not like they came off of bikes. I wasn't outside. I was inside, and they walked in, and I was like, yeah, no, you drink heavily. Like I was like, you can, like I was waiting for them to like, in this movie when people were breathing out and it was very cold, so there was just, there was like hot, like very, warm air coming out. I would expect them to breathe out and just cigarette smoke.
Right.
Some of them kind of looked a little bit like Smoker.
From, oh my God. Yeah.
What was he in the dub? Chaser? Is that what they called him?
Yeah.
I love it. In the original version, he's Smoker. But let's remove that. Let's take that out by calling him Chaser, which is what you take right before alcohol, depending on what you're drinking. That's perfect. Anyway, no, it's because he's chasing the One Piece gang as he's drinking. Anyway, so one thing that I find very interesting, though, is, and I know the mom doesn't believe in spirits. And again, I get it, right? This movie's supposed to be kind of like how zombie movies, some of them, never know what a zombie is. Because that would completely ruin the tension, right? So, but in this case, though, when you walk out of a room for literally 5 seconds, and your kid, who is not even the full size of the table, if that, open, like you see every single drawer and every single cabinet open. Do you really think he's fucking with you? How?
Yeah.
Again, I don't know what else you can describe it as, but like, and I understand the tension later on in the movie when the mom is kind of like, well, just why are you lying to me? What, someone came into the house, didn't steal our shit, just took the bumblebee pin and put it on your shelf or in your,
Right in your drawer.
in your drawer. Really? Really? And I gotta be honest, by the way, I'm sure that his grandma is a really nice person.
Yeah.
But fuck his grandma. That whole shit happened. And grandma wasn't even like, yo, let me move something. Let me help out my grandson. That grandma, it's nice that, she was telling nice stories to Cole and he was able to kind of tell his mom later, see, I know these things that you never told anybody. But what if she was like, I tell that story every Christmas, you little shit. Why are you lying to me about my mom?
Right.
What? Like the grandma had to be like, all right, let me tell you your mom's social security number and her
Right.
first pet.
That's why I was glad at the end when he brought up the grandmother and she was like, Cole, please stop. It's like, that's not funny. It's like, no, 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 no. Hear me out. I know something that I shouldn't know, and this will prove it to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it's one of those things where like it was just kind of, I don't know, I guess funny in a way that it was kind of like the rest of the movie at any point, like if this shit had been happening for that long, like it's not like this is new, unless this is really that new because the kid starts noticing that he can see and he's starting to talk to them or run away from them and they can tell like, oh, this kid can see us, oh shit, like unless that's why everything's starting to happen more. There was a lot of random shit going down in that house. Like this, like as much as I want to, I really do enjoy the family drama, and I attach myself to that because I mean, it's very gripping. It's a very, again, like I've said a lot of times during this podcast, a very real tale, right, of family drama. But at the same time, yeah, it's just like this movie. If there was this much paranormal shit happening in the house for the last even just year, really. Really, the kid went up to the highest cabinet and opened it, and you're like, Cole.
Yeah.
What? He would have had a hard time getting. He would have looked like that kid who got shot in the back of the head. He would have tried to get up on the top of the cabinet, tripped, fell, hit his head, cracked his skull open. Here's another theory: the whole movie would have been a coma in his mind. The whole movie's a coma.
That's what I thought.
Oh God!
It's funny. I thought that was at first going to be a possible twist. Like, Cole's the one who's in a coma or, something like that.
Cole has been dead the entire time.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, we would have thought the therapist would be in a coma, potentially, because he just got shot. No, it's just, he's alive. Don't worry. You didn't think he would be in a coma or anything?
No, I mean, I really thought he was dead. I mean, well, when he was shot in that, I thought, he's dead.
And then he's fine.
And then
quote,
and then the next scene starts, and I'm like, oh, I guess he was okay. I guess they got to him in time.
That's funny. But yeah, it's so interesting how he just didn't notice, like how he's like, yeah, I'm feeling great, everything's fine, don't worry about it. And then all of a sudden, when they cut back to it around the end of the film.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the film's ending itself? Because I feel like, because hear me out. Not the twist. I mean, after the twist. Because I feel like the ending, I don't know. It's one of those movies where, yes, in a sense, it ties things together. It really kind of brings their story to a close. But at the end, also, now that the mom believes, I guess everything is A-okay. I don't know. It's one of those endings that I think they tried to make it seem like, don't worry, everything's going to be A-okay. And you kind of made a joke half about this, but it's kind of, I'm going to go full on with it. This kid's a fucking superhero here who's constantly getting, in some ways, because you can tell from the wounds on his back, assaulted by the dead.
Right.
Like, what? Just because the mom, I guess maybe the mom believes him, so that's a good support system, so he won't shoot a doctor?
Yeah.
Like he's not going to become like this other guy because he has a support system and he has two people that believes him. Sure, one of them is the dead, so it's a little biased. But still, he has two people that believe him, so he's like, I'm going to be A-okay. It's like, but dude, the dead still are scratching you on your back and ripping through your clothes and, I mean, yes, it's like, they just want to listen to you. I guess. I mean, I believe that they just want to listen to him, but then you made it apparent to me. You're like, nah, but dude, there are scratches there regardless of the listening. And I'm like, shit, you're right. You know? You told this to me off camera. You were like, yeah, but there's still scratches on his body. And I'm like, yeah, that's rough.
Yeah.
So here's something that was odd. Something that I want to point out to you that confused me.
Okay.
I thought that Bruce Willis's hand was in his pocket when he was. Remember when he? I don't know if he punched or he threw something. He broke the glass.
Yeah, the window.
Yeah.
And he had his hand.
But it wasn't in his pocket.
No, it was. Yeah, I thought that was odd too. Like, why is he? And it didn't strike me until later. Oh, that's where the gunshot wound was. That's kind of another subtle hint. It's like.
Well, that wasn't subtle, but I mean, it was odd because in my head I'm like, oh, is he trying to? Because I thought it was.
You haven't seen his hand like that for the entire movie. You saw it at the very beginning, but if you, you're so engrossed about everything else that's going on, you don't think about it.
Yeah, because my thought was, oh, is that like a weird way that it like is his pocket in a different section? Like, is he just like I don't know? That's what I first thought. Then when seeing it again, I was like, because I had to, I was watching it through different means. Like once, once through a PS4, another time through another thing. Like I had to move it around my house because people come and go in this house. So I had to like move some things around. So when I skipped back to the same scene, I saw it happen. So I've seen it happen 3 times throughout the past day. And the first time I was like, well, that's odd. I guess his pocket is in a different... Like, he's in his pocket, but he moved it up. Then now, when I know that he's dead, I'm like, oh, he's holding his abdomen because that's where he got shot. But you could also think, maybe if you saw it a second time and you're like, I'm wondering, you could think, oh, he's hiding his hand because he just punched glass.
Right.
Like, who punched that glass? Maybe the guy with the bloody hand.
Yeah.
But now that we know, it's like, right, he's holding his abdomen. That's where he got shot. But of course, just like Cole said earlier in the film, people see what they want to see. So he's not sitting there like, why am I holding my abdomen? Thinking about how he got shot. Right? Months ago or something like that. All he thinks is, hey, I need to get into the study. Oh, where's the key? Oh, I'm in the study. Great. Think about it. Think about it, Tristan. How many times do you think the phrase, I just walked into this room? The only phrase I'm sure you think often is, what did I walk into this room to do? Right? Which is a phrase that I think often. Wait, why did I come into this room? Because we're all playing a fucking giant game of Sims. But, other than that, though, I never think, like, I'm walking into this room now. All right, I'm turning to the left. No, like... You don't really think like, oh god, I have to do this exactly to do this, unless of course you're like jiggling the key and you're like, oh, well, where's my jiggling the handle? You're like, where's my key? So it's very interesting how he just, again, sees what he wants to see, right? Doesn't realize, wait a minute, my wife has been eating alone. The table isn't made like it used to be, right? With the tablecloth and everything. Heck, like we mentioned a little bit earlier, nobody makes eye contact with him.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah, it was a whole bunch of subtle things that really starts to make you like feel weird about it, but never really drives you home to the point until the very end.
Yeah, because even if someone knows that Shyamalan is known for twists, to me it's just kind of odd if someone goes, "Yeah, he's been dead the whole time, right?" I'd be like, "Where the fuck is your brain?" Well, come on, the kid can see ghosts. Of course he's dead the whole time. I'm like, were you expecting a twist? No, I expect a twist in every movie. I'd be like, wait, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Like, to me, he just seems like he's just... Again, in some respects, he's a little bit too involved in his work, which is why it's like you would think he would be talking to some kind of superior. But other than that, he seems like he's just a dedicated, therapist who's like, hey, I do this stuff for kids, so clearly I have to be a little bit more involved in their lives than I would for adults. Because why would he, an adult, someone our age... If we need a therapist, which we both might, but if we need a therapist, we're not going to have our therapist go to our dance recital. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. The therapist isn't going to be sitting in your room like, that was kind of a dark joke for the podcast, Tristan. Do you want to talk about that?
Oh,
no, it's 2 a.m. Why are you in my house?
Yeah. How did you get in here? Oh, the window was open, and I just... Oh, God!
This is very disturbing. Also, you're very, very agile. Like, that's a small window. You know what? You know what? You got in. Good for you.
Right.
You're kind of like, I'm gonna call the cops,
You
but
know what?
bravo.
I guess you deserve this session. I
You
mean,
just
I'm still paying for it, and it's for me. But sure, I'll go. I'll go right now. Fine.
does insurance cover house visits? As far as any of us are concerned, this is not a house visit. Well, that's not ominous.
Uh,
Um, by the way, so here's something funny that I noticed. I don't know about you. How in 1999, technically I guess 98 when it was filmed, but in 1999, the dollar stretched so far that she can work 3 jobs and have enough money to not only have a bomb ass apartment, granted not in New York, but still, but also put her kid into it looks like to me, a very expensive private school. Like nowadays, you have a single mom working 3 jobs just to exist.
yeah.
That's what I'm trying to get at. But she had the money
No, you're
to
right.
put him into an expensive private school.
I don't know if it was a private school. Like, what
Yes, it
made you
was.
think that?
What do you mean? They had uniforms. They had the same
Well,
uniforms I had in my Catholic school when I was a kid.
okay. I mean,
And also he was in a church the entire time. I assume that's the one attached to the private
right.
school.
Okay, that would make sense. The church, because I mean, I feel like maybe not today, but I feel like just because they had uniforms, that might not necessarily make it.
But some places do, but I think most places that do now, they might be like charter schools. But this one, especially if you look at the uniforms, and I want to pull up my old uniform, you'll notice that not mine, the one that I wore, but the one that the girls wore, were straight out of like Catholic high school uniform code, straight out the. And remember, I went to school
Right.
in literally in the same time that this character would have. So I was 7 when this movie came out. So yeah, I would have been wearing not the same boys uniform. Mine was a bit different, but the style was very much like this is a prep academy. That's kind of why when they went to that one family's house, it was a very rich house because it seems like they can all afford it because they have 2 incomes coming in, yada yada. And also, again, they seem to be very well off incomes. Where Cole's mom is working 3 jobs to put him into this school, assumingly. But that's just my take on it. It did not seem like a poor area, is what I'm trying to get at.
Right.
It didn't seem like they were in a really like, we're in the low income area. And again, even her, like she had to work 3 jobs, but look at how good that apartment was. Like, yes, sure, the dead is roaming around it completely, but you know what? Apparently, according to the movie, the dead is roaming around everywhere. So, it's not like that one apartment would be that cheap because the dead is roaming around. Apparently, the dead are everywhere throughout Philadelphia, according to this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, how did you feel? Not about the story behind it, but just the scene where the girl vomited.
Oh, that. Like,
So,
it's
yeah.
funny. It had a similar effect to the kid turning around with the half his skull missing. I was just like, so you died of something horrifying.
Yeah, right? It's like, she didn't die from, like, I snorted too many pixie sticks. No.
Yeah. I thought she was like a plague victim or something at first.
Yes.
Or just,
Same.
some horrible disease, and then it turns in, it's like, the mom was poisoning you. That was, oh god, that was horrible.
The one thing that I felt was odd,
It was even worse than I thought it was going to be.
that too. The one thing that I felt was odd is that apparently the ghosts don't just reside in his house. Apparently they can follow him.
Yeah.
Because I thought that girl was related to the mom that killed herself.
Or like a neighbor. Yeah.
Yeah, but from the looks of it, that place that they went to, the house, was not that close. Granted,
No.
I don't know how far. It's not like,
I mean,
it's not like Bruce Willis drove them.
Yeah, I'd
in the
argue
Ghostmobile.
it was probably like a bus ride or so away or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Or a train ride. But yeah,
Yeah,
it definitely wasn't just down the block.
exactly. Because it looked a bit. Jesus Christ, she vomited again. Sorry, movies. With audio cues, I can tell that it's coming. But anyway, so sad story. This is not a fun story. when I watched this movie as a kid, my dad tried to help me by shielding me from certain scenes. So he'd be like, "Oh, that's bloody. Close your eyes," and I would.
Right.
But this scene, he thought it would be okay for me because there's no blood.
Right.
But the audio cues, also with the girl vomiting, and then with him running out of the room, and then her silhouette still being in the tent. Like when it came down and her body was still there.
Oh yeah.
All of that made me go, "Dad, shut it off, shut it off, shut it off, shut it off." And he was like, "What, really?" And I was like, "Yes, yes, 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 yes." And for years, I never finished the movie until I was maybe like 18.
Yeah.
I just never went back to it. I never felt the need to. I was like, "What's the twist?" "Oh, he's been dead the whole time." Excellent. And that's all I needed to know.
Oh my god.
I never needed to go back to it. Because think about it, dude. This movie came out in 99. So if I saw it on VHS when I was 8...
Right.
I did not need any of that shit.
Yeah.
Because, like, you walked in, again, during very random scenes, but if you walked in during that scene when you were 8...
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah. Not even the gorier scenes, although you mentioned you may have seen some of the gore as a kid. Or no?
I mean, I'm not even sure. I think it was just
a passing glance.
Yeah, or the spookiness.
Mm-hmm. But seeing that scene, again, just the audio cues were beautifully done, really revs up the tension. But again, I think I mentioned it earlier, I don't know if I mentioned it on the podcast or I mentioned it to you off camera, off mic, when they didn't use the cues. I think that was even cooler, not just with the drama teacher, so I did mention it, yes, I did mention it earlier, not just with the drama teacher, or I assumed she was a drama teacher, also when Cole was like, "Oh, a woman died, a cyclist died. Oh, you can see her?" Yeah.
She's outside the window.
And then they don't use like a huge audio thing. It's just she's there. And I was like, "Oh."
And bleeding.
Yeah. "Someone died. How do you know?" "I died." That's how. Like I feel like it's set up for like a really cute comic meme, but this movie came out way too early.
Yeah.
For that. Like it's really you see what I mean? It's really set up for one of those cute comic book. Oh, by the way, you mentioned it was a bus ride away. Yeah, they were literally on the bus, which is funny because you can't drive them there.
Yeah.
But again, it's still so odd that she followed him. That I know he's a kid, but like, man, like, did she take the bus? That was a bit much.
Right.
Now, granted, also another thing that was a bit much. Again, talking about the stretching of reality as we're kind of wrapping this podcast up. This first night of Shyamalan. Did you think it was odd that instead of going upstairs, the husband or the father is like, "Let's just pop in a VHS tape. I'm sure everyone would love to see whatever's on this." Like, he has no idea what's on the tape.
I mean, yeah. I mean, like Cole also says it was, your daughter wanted you to see this, so...
Yeah, but wouldn't you see it in private? Like, it should have been everyone leaving, right? Then later on at night, he pops it in. He's like, "Oh, I'm sure she would have loved if we watched this." And then as they're watching this, he just sees it, maybe with the wife or even without the wife, and he's just like, "Oh."
I mean, honestly, I'm kind of happy he did see it with the rest of the family, because now, like, she can't refute that shit.
But
because
also,
I feel like if it was just the two of them, she might even try to kill him, for fuck's sake.
I mean, by what? "Honey, just calm down. I'll make you some soup. Just calm down."
No, she just would have stabbed him right there.
I don't know. Maybe stabbed him with the poison. She did not seem like the stabby type. She seemed like the, "Honey, calm down. Do you want some coffee? Maybe an open beer? I'm gonna open it in the kitchen. You want a beer?" God. No, I don't want a beer.
Arsenic with that shit.
Yeah, it's like, "Just please, honey, try some of my homemade arsenic pancakes. They're amazing."
Or, no, maybe she would have like smothered him or something.
You know what really would have gotten me? Not really would have gotten me. What really got me, rather, was when, I don't know if you heard this. It was before we knew the big twist. There were two big twists in this film, technically. So the first one got you thinking, "Oh, this is where his big twist comes from." Nope, he fucked you even harder later. But the point, though, is what really got me was when everyone was talking, like, "Oh, she passed away from illness," and they're like, "Did you hear that the little one is also falling ill as well?"
Yeah.
The mom was on round 2, that piece of shit.
Yeah.
That mom was fucking on round 2. And then even seeing her, because I think we saw her earlier, even before they cut to her when it was like, you poison. Before that part, I'm
Right.
pretty sure we saw her hamming it up or crying or something like that. And it's just like, you piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of things that I will not excuse for obvious reasons, but that is the worst fucking thing. Well, I think that's one of the worst fucking things you could ever do in your life. You would think murder by itself, but poisoning your kid just to get people going, I'm so sorry for your loss. Holy shit. Like, at this point, talking about the Ring similarities, man, I really would have hoped that fucking, I forgot her name now, crap, Sadako, would have just came out of the TV and been like, not you, husband. Her.
Oh,
But
God.
like, take her. Fucking take her, drown her in the well. Drown
Yeah,
her
well,
in
like,
the well.
when I saw the videotape, I almost fell out of my chair.
Your daughter wanted you to see this.
Yeah,
7 days.
Oh, God.
Oh my god.
Either that or it would have been like, the spirit of the girl, like, Sadako comes out, it's like, it's okay, I got you back.
Yeah, right?
This comes back, it's like, you won't have to worry about her again. What?
Yeah.
What?
Super confusing. But yeah, so anyway, I have no problem with this little boy, helping out ghosts and everything. Basically, it's a Yu Yu Hakusho prequel. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, right? I'm expecting him to show up, be the next spirit detective, like Koenma coming out and be like, you have got some really high-level spirit powers, kid.
I gotta be real with you. This teenage, we got some kid who's like 12 in Japan, and he's a dick. Would you rather? I think we'd like you better.
No, he's just the American branch.
Yeah, he's the American branch. No, but what I'm trying to get at though is that I still, again, I don't know. I'm not saying, like, it makes sense that yes, everyone got to, but like the husband or the dad didn't really know what was on that tape. It's just some kid that he's never seen before. Granted, he didn't see Bruce Willis behind him, but assuming that, when we all thought Bruce Willis was alive, we're like, he just sees some random kid and then some guy kind of a little bit farther back that he's never seen before. What's going on?
Right.
Now, granted, it started off cute, by the way, and that's another thing too, by the way. I hate to be this guy because I know suspension of disbelief, but man, was that tape super convenient. Like, I'm going to tape my marionette show. Oh, I guess I forgot to turn off the tape. And then I was being fed what I didn't know was poison. But now that I'm dead, I'm like, wait a minute. I knew that tasted like arsenic.
That's fair.
Granted, I'm not saying I have a... It's funny. I would have less of a problem with the tape for some odd reason if he saw it elsewhere. I think it's the fact that, like, he did both that I'm just like, now I can hit him for both. But anyway, either way, though, I do wonder why we... Like, just, I don't know. I'm happy that Cole helped out someone.
Yeah.
I do find it strange that they picked this. Maybe because they wanted to go with something that has more of a family dynamic. They didn't want to go for the woman who killed herself because then it gets into like domestic abuse, and it's like we do not want to go there.
Yeah, and I guess it would be easier for Cole to approach someone like a ghost that looks like they're his age too.
Yes, who doesn't look like, and I hate to be this guy, but doesn't look like the kid who shot himself in the back of the head, or who got shot in the back of the head. That's another thing too. If you go into that, then you have to get into why the kid got shot in the back of the head. Overall, It's like I don't think we should go there.
Yeah. Right.
By the way, what did the mom put into the... Because it's hard for me to tell due to the VHS quality. Did they just make up a random brand of, like, detergent or something that would make her sick?
Yeah, I couldn't tell. Because I was trying to read the bottle, but I couldn't tell what it was.
Oh, I loved how they made up that random sleeping aid thing, but it looked like it was like a NyQuil commercial because it felt so nostalgic, like an actual commercial.
Right. From
back in the day. And then Cole throws the boot at it, which kind of makes us sit there and be like, well, yeah, because it's a happy family. No, it's a happy family, and he's sitting there with his freaking dad who left him for some younger woman. Because I'm pretty sure that was talked about in the film.
Yeah.
Right? Wasn't it talked about? That didn't Bruce Willis say that the dad left him for someone younger, or someone said it? I forgot who said it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so my point, though, is that it is so... it's kind of a thing where, like, yes, you couldn't go into some of those avenues. But it's so interesting that the one that they chose was a bus ride away. Because, again, it's just like... I know that the girl can technically materialize anywhere, just like anyone could. But other people can clearly see ghosts, I would imagine. It can't just be this kid and no one else. Because that other guy could.
Yeah.
So it's weird that she kind of just gravitated to him miles away. But again, movies. That's
Yeah.
it's, and I'm happy that Cole helped like he could. It's just he saw so many ghosts. It's hard to know who he can help and who he can't.
Right. Yeah.
Like it'd be really nice if the drama teacher ghost was like, if you do a good job, I'll be able to leave. And he's like, oh, I'm gonna do such a good job, lady.
Right.
Well, because that was so sweet in a way where it's like she's just helping him with his makeup.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that looks like it's enough makeup. And by the way, something too. Speaking of makeup, the makeup department, fucking bravo to them. They covered up so much in people, like on people, like the drama teacher, the kid who got shot in the back of the head. They did so much to make me go, all right, either you're dead or you're not dead, or I wonder how you died, or I mean, come on, dude. Did you really think the drama teacher was dead? Or I assume she's a drama teacher. Did you think she was dead when you heard her voice saying that's enough makeup?
No,
Yeah.
I didn't notice something was wrong until it was like, oh, who are you talking to? I'm like, ah, crap.
I know. I was just great because you hear it and you're just like, and then you're like, well, how did she die? And then you just see the other side of her and you're like, oh my god. And then, although I hate this because this made me laugh, and I know they were trying to, in my opinion, they were trying to make me laugh when it was just like, did you know that there was a fire here when I went here? Right. People died, and Cole's like, yeah, I heard, and I'm like, you motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Like, it'd be like a superhero movie. Did you know that Spider-Man saved those people in New York? Peter Parker. I heard about it.
Oh my god. Yeah, right.
No, but that's kind of what it was. It's just like, did you know that people died in a fire? Like, she clearly died of burns.
Yeah.
And it was in this wing. And that's what I'm saying. She clearly was a drama teacher that sadly passed away in the fire. So it's kind of just like, it's kind of one of those things where it's just like, did you know there was a fire? Yeah, I heard about it. It's like, Cole, you motherfucker. But yeah. Oh, by the way, I loved how they all carried him. It was kind of nice how throughout the movie, as they, as he kind of opens up himself, and I don't know if it's a good message or not, but as he opens up himself and as he's true to himself, I think that's a better message. As Cole is true to himself, he then seems to be happier.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if it's good to say as he opens up, because I don't want to sit there and be like, see, antisocial behavior means that you should be ridiculed, because fuck that, right?
Yeah.
But, at the same time, I do think that as Cole starts to own up to who he is and to what he sees,
right,
he then at least exudes a bit more confidence.
Right, yeah.
And
he's not having to fight that aspect of himself and say, like, oh, they're not real, or if I hide away, they'll go away, that kind
of... Because they don't, clearly.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's another good thing to potentially take away from the movie. Be true to yourself at the very least. Be true to who you are. And I think that's a good message, because there are some interesting messages to take away from this film. Like, be true to who you are. Notice your surroundings. I would imagine that's a big one. Help those in need, potentially. Even if they're dead, help them in need. But anyway, I think, I'm looking at this movie, I'm thinking about it. I feel like we're close to wrapping it up. Is there anything big you want to mention before we officially close up shop for the night, for our first night of Shyamalan?
I mean, no, I think we got everything. I was just glad to kind of see we had a nice ending. That Cole and his mom kind of have an understanding, and that the therapist gets to say goodbye to his wife and move on.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to mention to you earlier. I kind of alluded to it a little bit.
Yeah.
So you think it was a complete ending? Because I don't know, it felt like one of those fade to black. And I guess it's because some movies, the way they end nowadays, and not even just nowadays, just in general, some movies end very definitively. Like, okay, this is what's happening going forward. But in this case, to me anyway, it just feels like it's not as definitive. Maybe I'm wrong. But it doesn't feel as definitive only because, yes, it's like, no, but he can move on. But, so the only people that are on Earth that are ghosts are the ones that haven't moved on? That's it? So everyone else has moved on? It's only him?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it feels like. The idea, you only kind of stick around as a ghost if you have some business you haven't taken care of.
Yeah,
or
okay.
you died in a horrific way.
Yeah, no, because Grandma's still around, and you think she'd be fine.
Right.
Unless Grandma's like, oh, no, no, kids, kids. Like, Cole is like looking at, Cole's like, should I tell Mom about that? And Grandma's like, you should not tell Mom about that. It's just like, wait, what's going on? What did she tell him? And no, because Cole's like, why aren't you leaving, Grandma? And she's like, oh, you don't understand, kid. I have a ton of blow that I still have to do. I mean, this old nose, it ain't what it used to be.
Oh my
But
god.
damn it, Cole, I really gotta. Should I tell Mommy
Other
about that? You
than
should not tell Mommy about that.
Yeah, I mean, Grandma might be the loophole there, but I think it was also the idea that her
Guardian
family was
Angel?
still, yeah, like her family was she wanted to try and help with Cole and her daughter too. Like, I don't know.
No, 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 no. That's not a bad point, right? That's, I mean, again, maybe that's what her goal was. Odd that we never saw Grandma. Granted, I
Yeah,
was, and here's the thing too. It's not like Grandma has like a bloody head wound. Like unless Grandma was like, it's like, Mommy, how did Grandma die? Harley accident. Like I don't, like I think Grandma died peacefully
landmine.
in bed. Landmine. Was Grandma in a war? No, she just loved playing with landmines.
It was at the dance recital.
The dance recital. Why did you have live landmines, honey? Oh, sweetie.
The
Oh, sweetie. The
competition was
50s.
stiff.
The 50s was a much different time.
Oh god.
Like, but anyway, I don't know, man. I feel like other than Grandma, and also it's odd that we didn't see any of the ghosts that wanted to hurt him. And
Yeah.
granted, I'm not saying we need to see ghosts like throwing this kid around like it's fucking Hulk throwing around Loki or anything
Yeah.
like that. Like, we don't need to see that. But
Yeah.
at the same time, it's odd that like the message is, at least from Bruce Willis's character, you just have to talk to them. Whereas you kind of have like Cole being like, dude, some of these ghosts, look at my side.
Yeah.
These are, what do you think these scratches came from? The ghosts,
Right.
the ones that want to hurt me. Well, maybe if you just listen to them. Well, that's not a good message. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not good. If you don't listen to them, then they're gonna hurt you, Cole. So you probably should listen to them. I think I'm a hostage now, man.
Oh god.
But anyway, in all seriousness, though, yeah, I do feel like, well, there are some good messages. There's some other ones that are a bit harder to pick up on.
I think they were trying to go for more of just the communication aspect in general.
Yes. Again, the family should communicate. I mean, while Bruce Willis's wife would not have communicated back for obvious reasons,
Yeah.
still he would have
Or
known
just-
he was dead
yeah,
if he
just
communicated
people-
sooner.
Just people in general to
Mhm.
communicate with one another.
Yes, that family aspect. A little bit earlier, I kind of said I feel like this movie is on a weird tightrope. I said something like it, I didn't say the exact words. It's on a
Yeah.
weird tightrope because it tries to focus on the family drama, and I think it succeeds very well at that.
Yeah.
And I also think it succeeds at the horror aspects very well.
Yeah.
But I feel like it didn't. It delved so much into the family drama, which is a good thing, because again, I think it did it very well. I don't think it did it poorly or like in a bad soap opera kind of way.
Right.
But with the way that it delved into it, to me anyway, it feels like the horror aspect, not that it was forgotten, but that it was so good that it was kind of like, oh, could we get to more of that? Because it seemed like it kind of came out of, not nowhere.
Right.
You know, no, I'll say it. It kind of came out of nowhere in some respects. Where it's kind of like, and maybe that's just what they wanted to do. They were like, no, we want to lull you into a false sense of security. This is not meant to be like a horror, kind of like slasher movie or something like
Right.
The Ring, right? There's nothing that Cole is actually fighting against other than himself and his own
Yeah.
acceptance of the problem. But at the same time, I don't know, it just felt... Do you see what I mean, though? Like, because you haven't seen that many horror movies, but from what horror movies you've seen, and from what more dramatic movies you've seen, they're trying to be a lot more, gritty and real.
Yeah.
Some of the horror aspects, I don't know. It's really hard to put into words, and that sucks
Yeah.
because that's kind of what we do here. That's kind of what
I feel like-
what our job is.
I
You
feel
see what I
like
mean,
for
though,
this, you kind of needed to have the family drama be the front and center, like the problem,
Mm-hmm.
and not have
Yes.
like more horror aspects, as in the ghosts attacking him take more of a front seat.
Right.
That because that's basically just to bolster the story itself, and I think they use those moments appropriately. So
Yeah.
I think they had
think-
enough. They used it correctly.
Yeah, I think they were just so out there that I was like, oh my god, like they were so well done. That's the thing, because they weren't poorly done.
Yeah.
My thought is, well, there should be more of those. My god, those were amazing. You see what I mean?
I feel like if they had put in more of those, though, it would have taken away from it overall.
Well, because it then would have become more of a horror movie instead of a thriller. I don't think it would have taken away, but it would have become more horror. Well, because there
Yeah.
are some good, you know, what it is too. After this movie, of course, because this movie is, you know, so it's 19 years old at this point. There are other movies that have done both family drama with huge supernatural elements, where they're more horror supernatural movies, and they also include the family drama as well. Don't get me wrong, but there are some other movies kind of like Insidious, but again, they're different, or even. In a way, The Woman in Black, sort of. Mama was another good one. But again, they lean much more towards the horror genre than they
Right.
do this, which is more of a grounded reality sprinkled with supernatural elements. I think it's just
Right.
because maybe because of what I've seen and because of what I'm used to and because of what we have become accustomed to, at least me personally,
Yeah.
I think maybe this is why this feels like, oh, some of the horror aspects were downplayed. That's because they weren't really meant to be.
Right.
This wasn't meant to just be that.
Front and
You know,
center. Yeah.
front and center. And that's kind of why I wanted to show this to you, I think. Because, yes, it
Yeah.
has those moments, but I definitely wanted to invite you to kind of see something that not only is a bit different than what you and I normally watch, both outside of the podcast and for the podcast, but I also want to show you something, because when I want to show Tristan, if anyone, as we're wrapping this up, I want to tell everyone, when I want to show Tristan a horror movie of some kind or something scary, I try not to, even though they're very good, I try not to go for like the Friday the 13th or the Nightmare on Elm Street. But the fact that Nightmare on Elm Street, when Nightmare on Elm Street is good, it's really fucking good. But I didn't want to try to show you those right off the top of right off the bat, because I feel like you'd be like, oh, okay, so now everything that Matt's going to show me is going to be like, 80s slasher or 70s slasher horror gore. And it's like, no, that's not everything.
Yeah, this movie is more like what I'd be interested in.
Kind of like The Ring. Funnily enough, to keep on bringing it up, but it's true though. The Ring is also very similar in its grounded in human drama with some supernatural elements peppered in.
Right. Like I like the supernatural aspect. I like stuff like paranormal and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But like when
Freddy's paranormal,
when it's full on, horror movie, it's a little too much for me.
I mean, again, you haven't seen that many, so I have to show you the right one.
Like I'm not really the type of person that likes to be scared for fun.
Okay, I like to be scared for fun, but not in video game form. That's why it's been hard for me to do Fatal Frame, the first one by myself, because it's hard for me to tell myself.
I mean, well,
but we do it together. First off.
Yeah, it depends. It kind of depends.
Yeah, you wouldn't be playing a Fatal Frame game right now at 2:30 in the morning by yourself.
Yeah. Although to be fair, there's another game, Killer 7, that I need to show you.
Oh, I love what I've seen from Killer 7. You've talked to me and shown me a bit of that here and there. Killer 7 looks like a lot of fun. But anyway,
it's pretty scary.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that there's jumper things and stuff, like there's jumps and stuff like that, like jump scares. Anyway, but let's wrap this up. Let's wrap up our first day of our 12 nights, hopefully 12 nights of Shyamalan. So
I was actually pleasantly surprised by this, because I was worried it was going to be like some of the later stuff that you hear.
It's all downhill. It's all downhill from here. No, it's not, actually.
Oh, God. Am I going to enjoy this? But no, this was amazing.
I got to be honest. I don't know if any of the movies we're ever going to do from Shyamalan in these 12 nights are going to be as good as this. Right, I don't think they are. However, I do think that there are ups and downs. I really think that there are. So, yes, we might have a movie or two that we're like, oh, God. But then the next one, at least compared to the one previous, will be like, wow.
Right.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
So I do think that is going to happen as we're doing these 12 Nights of Shyamalan. I do think that some of these movies are going to come off better than others. But again, this is as big as it is, and it is a cultural phenomenon, and it put M. Night Shyamalan on the map, at least in the U.S., for a reason. It's why... Yeah.
No, that was my first reaction, where we're like, yeah, we're going to do a 12 Nights of Shyamalan, and I'm like, You're not doing all 12 nights with me, right? Right? And you're like, no, I am. I was like, oh, God.
I didn't even give him time to hope. I was like, let me just crush his dreams immediately.
Yeah.
But after a movie like this, I still believe it's downhill from here, but not completely downhill. Because there are some movies that I haven't seen of his yet, but I've seen trailers for, that were newer, some of his newer work, that I got super hyped for. Yeah. What happened was, I feel like, and again, we're really going to wrap this up in a minute. When we ended up, we got this movie, and everyone was like on Shyamalan fever. Right. And then, as a few other movies, although actually the next one might be really good. Not going to say yet, but you guys will see it tomorrow. Or see our review of it tomorrow. The next movie actually might be really freaking good. But after that movie, after those two movies having such huge hype behind them,
yeah,
other people were like, we need more Shyamalan. And then other movies, not going to name them outright. Well, I'll name them when we do the podcast, though. Right. Be like, this is the one that people were like, oh, this is, right. It's like he's going for another Sixth Sense, but it's not. Yeah. But it's, but again, right?
Yeah, and maybe I some of these movies too hard on him either. Like, I mean, it's hard to get, hit after hit too.
We have to remember though, he did make Avatar: The Last Airbender, so we do have to acknowledge he is behind that.
See, it's funny. Now, if you said that would be Anthony Toto's Dragon Ball Evolution. I don't know if he hated it that much, but I don't think. I mean, I don't think he thought it was terrible. But you have to ask him.
It was just a copy paste of the script. The only big issue, in my opinion, was because it was a 2-hour film and you took out all of the building up. Why did they even want to protect Aang by the end of the movie? But that's a whole other podcast. By the way, that was going to be on 12 Nights of Shyamalan, but I found something else so that we didn't have to do that.
Okay.
It's not a horror movie, but we were horrified by it. No, it's not going to be part of 12 Nights of Shyamalan. Yeah, right? But anyway, I just want to thank you all so much for listening in. As always, if you're watching this through our YouTube channel, Those Guys on the Radio, please remember to like and subscribe. A comment below as well with any of your thoughts on the movie or anything else about what we discussed throughout this review of the picture. And also want to mention that you could also be listening to this through our Blog Talk Radio account, which is blogtalkradio.com/ThoseGuysOnTheRadio. Or you might be listening to this through our iTunes account, which is actually just search up Those Guys on iTunes. You can find our entire list of podcasts on there. Also, you could watch some of our Let's Plays that we have on our gaming channel, which, by the way, it's a gaming channel in general, so we have a bunch of other gaming-related shows on there. We have Clone Corner, where I talk about different clone consoles. We have Mappy's Games for His Childhood, where I play different games from my childhood. We have Product Placed, where I play different games with fun challenges that are games that have certain characters from different products, like Chester Cheetah is in one game, so every time I lose, I just take a bite of a Flamin' Hot Cheeto, and if I get a game over, I take the entire handful. That was fun. There's a bunch of other challenges I do for Product Placed as well. You can check that out. Also, you can check out What's in a Box, which is I bring on different hosts like Tristan Walter, like a bunch of others, and I put 2 holes in the box. I put a game console, either a clone, an original, or a handheld in the box, and then so the person who's on the guest on the show does not know what it is. I know what it is. The audience can see it, but you can't. You being Tristan cannot. And then they have to guess what they're holding, and it's a lot of fun. And again, a bunch of other shows as well. And we also have our TG Productions YouTube channel, where it's really our miscellaneous YouTube channel. A lot of odd, fun stuff goes on there. Funny parody dubs, funny, things that we'll mention in this podcast, right? That maybe I think are so funny that they should be inserted into the film in some way or another, either through sound effects or through dubbing over or something really funny like that. So, I'll comb over, as I'm editing these for our YouTube channel, I'll comb over some really fun, dumb things that we've said and see if they fit into the movie itself. It's a heck of a lot of fun. We already have a few different releases. By the time this is out, there'll be a few different releases of it on our TG Productions YouTube channel. And also, we just have some really weird stuff there, basically. Some really fun, weird stuff. So, and if you guys want to know, well, where can I follow all of this? Not just by subscribing, but also follow when they're released in other ways. Let's say you're not on YouTube all the time, but you want to watch our stuff on YouTube. You can actually check out our Facebook, which is facebook.com/ThoseGuysOnTheRadio, and our main website, which is teacherproduction.net, which is actually also where we have our merchandise. You can check it out by going to teacherproduction.net/merchandise. You can buy our t-shirts and other fun stuff as well, like wall scrolls, things like that. And you can even buy that along with some stuff from my personal collection. You can either buy video games, retro video games, you can buy some wrestling merch and things like that, as well as our t-shirts over at our eBay, which is ebay.com/USR/Those Those Guys Radio. And let's not forget the Patreon. Patreon.com/TG Productions. Depending on what tier you give to, you can basically get so much from us. So you can give to us and we'll give right back to you. And if you give to that, then it'll definitely help support us and help us do what we do, be who we are, and keep the lights on. Because those lights need to stay on. Anyway, thank you all so much. Love you all. Take care. Hope you had fun on the first night of Shyamalan. We have 11 more nights to go. Are you prepared, Tristan?
I see podcasts.
I see dead podcasts. Anyway, thank you all so much. Love you guys. Take care and say goodnight, Tristan.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.